Hello, and welcome to episode 311 of the Casual Tryhard podcast. I'm Brian,
And I'm James.
and we're going to finish off Aether Drift. We're going to talk about green multicolor artifacts and some colorless stuff.
Yep. Yep. Pretty much nailed it. Not too much else to get through. Maybe, I don't know, 20 cards, maybe.
Yeah,
Hopefully we can knock it out today.
hopefully. So if you have any show ideas, things you want to hear us talk about, please let us know on social media. All those links, Facebook, Discord, Twitter, Blue Sky, email are in the description. So reach out, say hey.
Yeah. Let us know what you want to hear about. We're about, like we said, we're going to be hopefully done with this week. Have a couple rough ideas for a couple shows going forward, but if there's anything in particular you guys want to hear about, make sure you reach out and let us know. If you want to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do it. The first is with our TCG player affiliate link, CasualTryHard.com/TCG. Surf on over there, do whatever shopping you're going to do, and you'll support the show at the same time. It doesn't cost you anything extra and really helps us out, so we would appreciate that. If you want to support us more directly, Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG is where you can do that. Patrons get access to our show notes. They get roughly another hour of content out of us every week in the form of our unshow, where we record whatever we feel like recording because we're old, we need to test our equipment out, and we like to catch up for a little bit before we record. So we just record all of that and feed it to our patrons. They seem to enjoy it, so maybe you will too. Like I said, Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. Surf on over there, chip in a couple bucks, and get access to all those goodies.
Yeah. So, all right, we made it to green.
We did.
So this first one is like the Carson Invitational card from like years ago.
The Afterburner Expert. This is 2 and a green for a 4/2 Goblin Artificer. It has exhaust, 2 green. Put 2 counters on this creature. And whenever you activate an exhaust ability, return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If you squint and look at this card just right, you can almost smell the death mist.
Almost.
Yep.
So I will say I had complained about exhaust earlier, and someone brought up in like another podcast, I forget, that basically exhaust is just monstrous.
Oh, that's a good way to think about it.
I just feel like maybe it's like maybe I'm turning into like what is it, a Vorthos person or like a flavor person. Like monstrous felt more high fantasy than pun on a thing a car has.
Yeah.
So Death Mist Raptor came back when you unmorph something.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the thing that you unmorphed was Den Protector usually, but you had to pay 3 to flip it over to play it as a morph, and then 2 to flip it. So, like there are definitely some what's it called? Some exhaust costs that are kind of in that 5 mana range, where you could like.
There's a couple cheaper ones too.
Yeah, but where you could like play the card plus then exhaust. Yeah. And I think there's like a red one that is like 4 total. It's like a red for the creature and then 2 and a red for the exhaust. So you could do it on like 4. So as like a mid-range card, like this is kind of great. I think the biggest issue is
mid-range is dead.
Mid-range is dead.
You're not allowed to do fun things for value anymore?
No, the value has to just come all up front, all at once.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to work for your value.
Yep.
And like the most paid removals like sweeper is Sunfall. That exiles everything. So you can't like play these out, get them wrathed, and then bring them back. And then there's Torch the Tower.
Right.
Which exiles as well.
Yep.
So like you have the control side of things plays a thing that exiles. And then the like aggro red side of thing plays a spell that plays like a better Magma Jet.
Right.
And being a 4/2, it gets tagged by the better Magma Jet.
Unfortunately.
Or like if it were a 3/3, then like amazing. Right now you like Torch the Tower, they have to at least do some work for.
Right.
Right. But the fact that it kind of gets hit on either side, but like it's a card that like was good years ago, or a very similar card, and like
Story of my life, man.
yeah,
This card would have been good.
Yeah, 3/3 Death Touch literally kills everything.
Right.
4/2 kills most everything.
Yep.
Like it's not quite as good, but it's like I guess more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I couldn't just make it a 3-mana 3/3 with the Death Mist Raptor kind of text and like.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's extra awkward? Your point about Torch the Tower is like you exhaust this thing to make it big out of range of whatever, and then they torch it in response, and you're just like out 4 mana. Although I guess you still would have activated it, so you might get one back from your yard. One back.
But like when it's a 6/4,
mm-hmm.
can't they just sacrifice an artifact or enchantment or a token and Torch the Tower deals 4 then, right? Or does it deal 3?
That's not Torch the Tower. That's the other card.
It is?
I thought so.
It's the wild
damage. Yeah.
It's 3? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not as big a disaster.
Yeah.
Okay. But still, it's like you can't ever like activate the exhaust ability into open mana.
Right. Awkward.
Yes, super awkward.
Yep.
Right.
Anything else about this guy, or moving on?
I think we can move on.
This one's got you all over it.
Okay, it's Treasure's Insight, 1 in the green for an enchantment. When one or more artifacts and or creature cards leave your graveyard, you gain 1 life. When this enchantment enters, mill 4 cards, and you put an artifact, creature, or land from among the mill cards into your hand. So, hopefully it's 2 mana, put a card in your hand, gain a life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just get to gain a life kind of every time you like pull something out of your graveyard.
Right.
And being an enchantment, it does allow you to maybe get like have extra types
for a thing like matters.
For a thing like Traverse the Uvenwald or something like that.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was going to ask, because I know we talked just a little bit in the pre-show about Greasefang and how that decks Mardu currently. But this might be a decent addition for an Abzan Greasefang.
Yeah, I mean, because I think there are like non-zero times where you could take an Azeka's Chariot, and also these things stack.
Yep.
Right, like the second one gains you 2 life. And if you're just doing shenanigans, and gaining life. Also, a card we're going to talk about here in a second. If you exile a card from your graveyard, it's leaving your graveyard. So, Deathrite Shaman for the OGs.
Yep.
Right, like that's going to gain you life as well.
Yep. Delve.
So, oh, I guess it's only artifact and or creature, so the land doesn't get you a life.
True.
Which is awkward. Why wouldn't it just be like all the same things you can pull out?
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah, that just seems like a thing that like is gonna get messed up in paper.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know why they would have done that. That doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, but
make it symmetrical, wizards.
Yeah, make it easy.
Yep.
Make the card grockable, please.
Can't have easy things.
Cannot.
All right. Next up, we have Elvish Refueler. 2 and a green for a 2/3 elf druid. During your turn, as long as you haven't activated an exhaust ability this turn, you may activate exhaust abilities as though they haven't been activated. And this has exhaust 1 and a green. Put a +1/+1 counter on this creature.
So, it just kind of always has 1 and a green. Put a +1/+1 counter on it, that never goes away because of its first line of text. So.
Right. This is a decent way to, like, if you're playing that Afterburner Expert deck, this is a good way to make sure you always have that up.
Yeah, you always have something.
Also, I haven't played a ton of Aether Drift Limited yet.
Mm-hmm.
My wife was off this weekend, so we spent the weekend together, so I don't have too many drafts under my belt. But the squirrel that makes elephants
Mm-hmm.
with this guy was really good and limited. I don't know if it's quite constructed playable, but I guess if you're getting back 4/2s as well as making elephants, that might be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
that's
like
a
this.
2-drop or a 1-drop?
What the
The
squirrel? I don't know.
I think it's 4 to put a counter on it and make an elephant.
Yeah, I am unsure. We will look it up. Uh, but yeah, like it's one of those like you're kind of worried that like like the afterburner expert is kind of says, hey, we want this to be good and constructed.
Yeah, it's a 1
But
mana.
then it's 1 mana. Okay. And then, but like some of the other cards, it's like, do you want it to be good
Yeah,
and constructed?
and the other thing that I know you mentioned some of the things that might be holding an archetype like this back, but another one is that it's parasitic.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to print more cards with exhaust outside of this set, so
No.
it's only ever going to be, unless the engine itself is good enough, it's never going to be good, and it's never going to get better. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's
in those Deathmist Raptor Den Protector decks, like they weren't good because of morph. They were good because it was a good mid-range shell that used that as like a card advantage engine. So unless this engine is good enough to see play in kind of some mid-range deck, like I don't think you're gonna just build an exhaust deck. Is kind of what I'm getting at.
yeah, like I was gonna say, like you almost need like a den protector, a like an exhaust ability that also gets you other value, right? Because like that was you kind of got 2 or 3 cards out of your
Yeah.
thing, because like that deck only had those were the only 2 morphs in the deck
Yep.
because
And
that engine was so good.
yeah, I didn't put it on the list here, but that's kind of why I brought up the squirrel. Is like you're not drawing a card and you're not getting something back out of your graveyard like you were with Den Protector, but a 3/3 is
3/3 is a real card.
yeah. I mean that's most of a piece of cardboard.
Mm-hmm.
So
Agreed.
if you're getting a Afterburner Expert back and making your 1/1 more relevant and getting a 3/3, like that might, I don't know, you're getting close to being enough.
Mm-hmm.
I guess time will tell.
Yeah, but it is hard because like with cons and then dragons, you had like was Den Protector wasn't specifically unmorph, it was just like transform or
Turn
something.
it face up, yeah.
Turn it face up, yeah. So like you had 3 sets.
Right.
Right, you had like 800 cards to pull from,
Mm-hmm.
you know, across those 3 sets to have that be like for Deathmist Raptor to have cards to pair with it.
Right.
And this you have the 300 in this set.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, like the spring set is probably not race car themed.
Right.
And then the summer set is definitely not race car themed.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. So
It has racing in it though.
it does.
Yep.
You could. Your chocobo could get tired.
It could.
So that could be your
Sleepy
your,
little
your
chocobo.
thing. Yeah. Oh, poor buddy.
Yep.
All right. Next up.
We have Lumbering World Wagon. This is 2 and a green for a star 4 artifact vehicle. Its power is equal to the number of lands you control, and whenever this vehicle enters or attacks, you may search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. Now, I know that we kind of touched on this card during spoilers. I don't remember if it was in like the actual show or the pre-show, and we kind of poo-pooed it a little bit.
Yeah.
But like when I was going through the card list, this kind of caught my eye because very similar cards have seen play in Standard in the not too distant past. We had Topiary Stomper, was a 3-mana 4/4 that went and got a land. Wayward Sawtooth was a 3-mana 5/5 that lets you play an extra land. And this is like right in the middle of those two.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's like Topiary Stomper that like needs a little bit of extra work because you have to have another creature.
Right.
But like, it's that same kind of thing where it is a thing that can attack and block that can't until you've met some other condition.
Right. And Fiji lands.
Yeah, and Fiji lands. But like, I was gonna say, you could do this into like Afterburner Expert or some 4-drop that has, or 5-drop even, that has 4 power, and then get another land.
Yep.
And like that's really good. Like you attack with it used to be a 6/4 at that point. So they kind of have to block it, and it's like basically been an explosive vegetation.
Yeah.
An explosive vegetation that presumably ate a creature. Or a removal spell is good.
Yep.
So yeah, like it does fit that mold of 3-mana thing that gives you a land. I think in Standard the hard part is do you want to play this or Overlord of the Hot Woods?
Yeah.
Like I think Overlord of the Hot Woods is like just better. If there are artifact synergies or something, maybe. I did think just now that like Sword of the Animus has seen like a ton of commander play.
It sure has.
This is just like Sword of the Animus, right? Like where Sword of the Animus, you have to put it on a creature. This, you have to have a creature to crew it.
Yeah.
But it like gets you a land as soon as it comes into play. You don't have to spend any more mana on it to get additional lands. Now, Sword of the Animus gets to stay around. It just doesn't like die.
Right.
If it attacks.
You can put it on a different creature.
Yeah, but this, like, you at least, like, it's kind of like a Sword of the Animus already, like, built onto the thing.
Yeah.
So, like, it could see play in that regard.
Kind of a cool card.
Yeah.
And then one more green card is the one that you alluded to earlier.
So, Molt Tender is a green for a 1/1, and has tap, mill a card, and then tap, exile a card from your graveyard, add 1 mana of any color. So it's any card.
Not just a land.
Not just a land. It kind of feeds itself. So this works really well with is it Dredger's Insight?
Yep.
And I do believe we have do we have him on here? Well, I hope we do. Oh, we don't. We probably should. Ketramos.
Oh yeah, I can grab it.
So Ketramos wants to draw a card anytime something gets exiled from a graveyard. Whenever something gets exiled, period, from anywhere.
Yep. And
so Molt Tender works really well with that. So like it does a lot and has like some little synergies, and like we've seen Deathrite Shaman get banned in Legacy.
Yep. And
not that I think anyone's going to be playing this in Legacy at like current power level. As a 1/1, as a 1/2 maybe, because like it blocks an Ocelot Pride as a 1/2. But you could definitely see this, kind of being the glue that holds together some decks. There's that like blue-green like self-mill deck in Standard, like the crabs. Right? Like as long as you don't exile your instants and sorceries.
Yeah.
Right? That's all they care about. So like this would be good there. Where like it gives you like an extra mana dork to go with like your elves. So it does a lot.
Yeah. It is. I mean, I understand why, but it is a little awkward that it only mills 1. Like it's hard to justify this in like a self-mill deck. because maybe you get 3 cards off of it over the course of the game or whatever, which isn't a ton. And I don't know if like the extra versatility of turning them into mana matters that much when you're just caring about being efficient and filling your yard. But
yeah, it is
cool card though.
Yeah, it is a little awkward. Like it like I guess the fact that it mills 1, it gets to be a mana dork if you don't have any other stuff every other turn, which is like maybe what they were going for.
It's also kind of baseline. Oh shoot, Jaspera Sentinel. Like tap another creature. Like if you have 2 of these, one can feed the other one to make a mana.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, it is interesting, and there's a bunch of little synergies for it.
Yeah. You mentioned Ketramos, and Ketramos is not on my list, so let's do it now.
Okay, sorry.
It's all right.
It's been the hotness of the last like week or two.
Yep.
So Ketramos, the New Dawn, is 1 white black for a 4/4 legendary creature god. It has menace, lifelink, and indestructible. Ketramos can't attack or block unless there are 7 or more cards in exile. Anyone's cards in exile. And whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn, draw a card and lose a life.
Pretty sweet.
So 3 mana, like not a 4/4, but 3 mana indestructible draw engine.
Right.
Like that again takes a little bit of work.
Yep.
But it is we've seen, oh gosh, what is the Enduring Innocence? 3 mana draw engine. Deck building constraint is play a bunch of creatures.
Yeah.
But it's not the hardest deck building constraint. You just want me to do what? Play a bunch of creatures? Can do.
Yep.
And then just draw a ton of cards and then eventually get to enormous indestructible beater.
Yeah, I really haven't been keeping up with like the specific lists that this is being played in. So I can't, speak too much on like how those decks are constructed. I don't know that this thing being turned on even super matters. I don't remember if it was last week or the week before or the week before that, but we were talking about the Esper Blink deck. And like this just turbocharges that deck.
Well, the standard deck isn't Blink as much as Bounce.
Well, there is a Blink deck though, isn't there? Isn't there an Esper Blink deck also in Pioneer or Modern or something?
There's a black-white Blink deck in Modern. But point stance, like this and what is it? What is the dog? Like the 2/2 that when you attack you exile something.
Oh yeah. Begins with an A, right?
Yeah, say Thalia.
Oh,
something.
Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe.
Anyway,
right.
But what this has been doing in Modern is this card is absolutely bonkers with Psychic Frog.
Oh yeah.
Every time you exile 3 cards, you draw a card.
Yep.
So people are started playing one of my cards from back in the day, Dark Blast.
Oh yeah.
Because if you get a Dark Blast in your yard,
you
exile 3 to dredge 3.
Yep.
And then you basically get to then put the Dark Blast back in your hand, discard it to put a counter. So you can basically make a frog that is the size of a third of your library.
Yeah. Which is hopefully lethal.
That also turns on Ketramos.
Right.
And then Magic Aids today had a video a little behind. Like I think you could have done some things that were a little bit more current with the deck, but Ketramos also has 3 mana, which you can get back with Unearth.
Oh, that's cute.
So you have Ketramos, and you have a Born Oculus.
Yep.
and you have Psychic Frog that you all want to get back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can get them all back with Unearth.
Yeah.
And like if you have to cast an Abhorrent Oculus, you exile cards to cast the Oculus.
Yep.
But then he didn't have Dark Blast in the deck.
Yeah.
But and like what is it? Murktide Regent as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You get to draw a card when you cast your Murktide Regent.
Yep.
So anything that blinks. Also, apparently, if this gets exiled, it draws you a card.
Sure.
Because it sees itself going into exile.
Leave. Yeah. That's
so
cute.
Like, even if it gets Sunfall, do you still get paid off?
Yeah.
Or like Leyline Binding or something.
Yep.
So, but like in a like blink deck where you're playing whatever Ephemerate or Ephemerate adjacent card,
Mm-hmm.
like this card's just great.
Yeah.
So this is the card that I think people have been most excited about from the set in terms of like competitive play and people building decks with it back into Modern.
Yeah. Super cool card.
Yeah, and there are some standard decks where you put it with our Molt Tender,
mm-hmm.
and you just like exile a card with Molt Tender, draw a card, lose a life. Okay, get my mana, do something.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a lot here.
Yep. All right. Back to regularly scheduled programming. We are on to gold.
Yes, we are.
The first one we have, I think, is one that you mentioned.
I did mention it.
Okay.
So Broadside Barrage, it is 1 blue-red for deal 5. An instant deal 5 to target creature or planeswalker. Draw a card, then discard a card.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this like the most Phoenixy card to ever Phoenix?
Right.
It's a little expensive, but it does like churn you through your deck. It puts stuff in your graveyard.
Yeah, I mean, is it better than Lava Axe? I know it draws you a card, which is obviously better than Lava Axe, but Lava Axe is so much more efficient in that deck.
It is.
Like you're looking to cast multiple spells a turn, and with this you're casting like it.
Mm-hmm. I just like the like draw a discard attached to like deal 5 damage. Like maybe as like a sideboard card, like against like a Shieldred deck where you're like you need more than just Lava Axe.
Yeah.
To like have 2 of these in your board, and like it lets you like at instant speed like dome a thing and then put your Phoenix in the graveyard for your next turn.
Yeah, I could see that.
But no, I just was like, oh, this seems very Phoenixy.
Mm-hmm.
With its whole what did we say? Its whole like 4% of the metagame in Pioneer.
Yeah. I do like the art there. The big fat shark with the mask on.
Yeah. Yeah, I was telling Hannah that I need to like order one of those things where you can like display cards.
Yeah.
And get all the cool looking sharks and make a thing for Gavin for his room since he loves sharks.
Yeah.
Maybe make it do the same thing with dinosaurs.
Sure.
And then and I've been meaning to do I've been saying I need to get like all the cards that reference Merit Lage.
Yeah.
And do that. Like go back to like the weird Ice Age cards that reference Merit Lage.
Yep.
But yeah, so yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that was an interesting card.
Yep. Next one we have is Cole Stoke Gear Hulk. 1 black red for a 5/4 artifact creature construct with menace and death touch. When it ETBs, you put target creature with mana value 4 or less from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control with a finality counter on it. That creature gains menace, death touch, and haste, and the beginning of your next end step, exile that creature.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember why I put this here, but it seems like...
I know what the meme is.
Yeah, what's the meme?
There are multiple 4-mana clones in the format.
Oh.
In Standard.
Okay.
There are way more in Pioneer.
Yeah.
So you just you fill your graveyard. This is one of the early access decks. You put clones in your graveyard.
And just make a bunch of Gear Hulks.
If you get 4 clones, you're attacking for 20 with menace.
Yeah.
As early as turn 5.
Yeah.
so that was the thing that this was being used for. I don't know if it's good enough. Like it is awkward, like that they put the 4 or less on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can see why you don't want people like having a 5/4 that also gets back a hasty Atraxa
Yeah.
or a hasty like a tally or whatever.
Yeah.
But so the main
Progenitus.
thing is yeah, and the fact that it doesn't stay
Yeah.
like it's kind of awkward as well that it just like runs in and like smacks him and then goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not like it seems like it's built to be a combo card
Yeah.
because like as a mid-range card, you'd want your Shieldred to like stay around when you got it back.
Mm-hmm.
And this does not do that.
Right.
But like as a I'm gonna put like a bunch of 4-mana clones. Like
Yeah, it's awkward
yeah.
that this is 5 mana and you can't play it with Garuda.
That's what I was gonna say. Like it's my other Garuda
Yeah.
thing. My Garudas are main deck now, and we are just
We're just doing it.
spinning into Garudas and hoping if we don't get Garudas, we have this guy.
Yep.
As our extra thing.
I know I don't remember if it was I don't remember if it was in the unshow or the actual show, but we were kind of ranking the Gear Hulks.
Mm-hmm.
And I know at one point I kind of said that I liked the black blue one, the oil whatever Gear Hulk. Has anybody been doing anything with any of the Gear Hulks, or have they just kind of been a miss?
I've not seen anything. I watched a reasonable amount of I watched I think all of Jim Davis's 10 New Brews,
Mm-hmm.
and there weren't a lot of Gear Hulk. I think the blue black one was in some of the like Coldstone Gear Hulk decks.
Yeah.
As it's 4 mana, you can get it back. It also can like discard your clones.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen any competitive decks. But we'll know in a week.
Yeah, we sure will. You think there's going to be any cool new decks coming out of the PT? Or you think it's just going to be more of what we've already seen?
I'm guessing that there's going to be a whole lot of this town ain't big enough like blue black decks.
Yeah.
Just because it has a lot of what Pro Tour players like.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it's full of interaction. You get to like make a lot of decisions and like outplay your opponents.
Yeah.
And it's also like it also does a pretty decent job of invalidating anything that is big.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just have a 2 mana like bounce your big thing.
Yeah. Try again.
Try again. And they have they printed we talked about it, the Momentum Breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, which is just a better version of Tithing Blade.
Yep.
For that deck. So, like, there's just so much there. I could be wrong, but, like, that... My guess is that's probably what's going to be the biggest thing. Let me look at the standard metagame here. Gruul aggro. So, again, green... What is the new card? Oh. The thing that gives everything haste. Dragonautics Engineer.
Mm.
And, Afterburner Expert. So there you go.
There we go.
So that's Gruul aggro. But there's 231. And then Esper Self Bounce and Dimir Self Bounce are 20% of the metagame. And then, like, Golgari midrange. Which, like, you could convince me that maybe there's something to do with, like, some exhaust cards in your guy. But I think it's going to be a lot of the same stuff. Just because, like I said, I think the blue-black decks are really good.
Yeah.
Hopeless Nightmare, Storm Chaser's Talent, Nowhere to Run in this one. And I've seen other things. So yeah. Will someone show up with the Coldstone Gear Hulk, like, combo deck? Absolutely. Will it do well?
Probably not.
I don't know. Oh, here's someone who's playing Dimir mid-range with Oil Deep Gear Hulk.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the Mockingbird, Deep Cavern Bat, Flood Pit Strounder, Preacher of the Schism, Enduring Curiosity, Oil Deep Gearhulk.
Mhm.
And then like just removal and counter spells. So yeah, I mean maybe, but I know this is one of those decks that someone's gonna play and like go like 0-3.
Probably. I thought it was a cool
And then
card though.
and then be playing an on-demand event with me on Sunday.
Probably.
Like, how's it going?
All right, this I'll let you handle this next one here.
What if Siege Rhino could drive? Or what if Siege Rhino was a car?
Yeah.
Debris Beetle is because we couldn't use the word dung. Is
Evidently not.
two black green. I mean, it's even pushing a ball
I
just
know.
like a dung beetle. 2 black green for a vehicle that's a 6/6. It has trample, and when this vehicle enters, each opponent loses 3 life, and you gain 3 life. And it has crew 2. I mean, a lightning helix on like a 6/6 vehicle is pretty good. We already kind of talked about the death of the Obzon Greasefang decks, but like maybe against like an aggro deck where like the 3 life would matter, this could see play there, but maybe not.
Yeah, I tend to think not. I mean, I don't even know that Siege Rhino is still playable in Modern Magic. Like, if they printed Siege Rhino in this set in Standard, would it see play?
I think the fact that it's 3 colors is probably enough. If it was like black green, if it was 2 black green,
You think it's better than Shieldred? Because, like, that's the comparison, right?
Yeah, that is the comparison.
Like, how many 4-drops are you going to play in your mid-range deck?
Fair. Looking at Golgari mid-range, they play 3. They play 1 Thrun Breaker of Silence.
This might be better than Thrawn.
I think they play Thrun because you can't Town it.
Okay.
Or counter it.
Yeah.
Because that's like the only reason you would play that card is because you care about the can't be countered / can't be targeted.
Yeah.
Thrun, 47 cents. Shieldred, $82 a piece.
Crazy.
Jeez, oh man. Yeah, I don't know. It might not, but like I don't know, just like any kind of like vehicle is kind of like interesting. In like if it touches black in like another color that Greasefang is,
right,
is just interesting.
Next up is Gestal Thrillseeker. This is black-red for a 2/3 Lizard Berserker with Start Your Engines. When this creature enters, it deals 1 damage to target opponent and you gain a life, so it increases your speed when it enters. And max speed, it has Death Touch and Haste. I put this here just because I know, like in the last couple episodes, I had mentioned the Fire Me Up deck. Where it's like super fast paced, get to max speed, do whatever. This creature in particular is also relevant because it's a lizard, and at one point the lizard deck was relevant in Standard. It was black-red. There may be some merging of the two. I don't think I've seen any lists running this guy so far now that the set has officially released, but it went with my theme of Fire Me Up.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, like, I think in terms of the fact that it's a lizard matters. Like, that deck's really good at getting in damage.
Yep.
I just looked at Start Your Engines. There aren't a bunch of other lizards that want their engine started.
No.
Like, it feels like you need, like, 1 more lizard to be like, yeah, vroom, vroom, ladies and gentlemen. Like, to, like, make that, like, really matter.
Right.
Because, like, this isn't a big enough payoff for
the lizard deck, you mean?
Yeah, for the lizard deck,
yeah.
Right? If there was, like, another thing, right? Like, if Hazaret was, like, a lizard god. Then,
sure.
Then, right, then you'd be like, oh, hey, cool, like, I have this, like, really good payoff. Or, like, you almost need like a 1-drop
Yeah.
lizard. So like whatever the black guy is,
Gas guzzler.
the gas guzzler. Like if gas guzzler was a lizard
Yeah.
instead of a zombie, or I guess sorry, a vampire rogue. My apologies. Right, like that would maybe be better because now you have a way to start your engines, and then you play like the thing that you play the thing that when you attack, it deals a damage. But like that into this gets you to 2, but there's not like another thing to like really pay you off in the like in that type.
Right.
But like I think that like there could be a good like start your engines deck.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I haven't really had much of a chance to brew yet. I fired up the cycling deck for a little bit, and I played a couple drafts, but that's really all I've had time to do so far.
yeah. All right. Next up,
Who's this guy?
Colodin Triumph Caster, red white for a 2/3. Legendary creature, human pilot. Mounts and vehicles you control have haste. Whenever a mount you control enters, it becomes saddled until end of turn, and whenever a vehicle you control enters, it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So, one of my themes for talking about this set was we don't need no stinking crew cost.
Mm-hmm.
And this is yet another card that gets around crew cost.
Mm-hmm.
So, as of like this set, we talked about it before. They did not balance a bunch of the vehicles. The vehicles are kind of balanced more as a combination of casting cost and crew cost.
Yeah.
Where we had vehicles in the past, whatever, Consulate Dreadnought or whatever,
Yeah.
that were like low casting cost, high crew cost.
Right.
Even Heart of Kirin.
Yep.
Right, low, like 2 mana with a crew cost of 4.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that was supposed to kind of balance out what you could do. But like you could, play this thing on 2, Heart of Kirin, Consulate Dreadnought, attack for 13.
Yeah.
On turn 3, right, and then you're like, play Chandra.
Mm-hmm.
On 4. If this guy's still alive, the vehicle that Chandra makes gets crewed.
Yeah.
And then Chandra crews your Dreadnought, and then you remove, what's it called? A loyalty counter
for your heart.
And then you just smash again, right? Like you can have these like
Yeah.
draws that like kind of require things to line up.
Right.
But in Standard, I don't feel like we have the like high crew cost, low casting cost vehicles.
Yeah.
But right, like we have them in Pioneer,
mm-hmm.
and much like Greasefang kind of limits what vehicles can have a crew cost of 4 in like, I guess, kind of printed going forward, right? Like some of these cards kind of limit, can you design cards that have this low toughness or low casting cost, high crew?
Yeah.
Going forward, because like they could easily make like, oh, it's 2 mana and has like crew 8 and it's a 10/10 with trample.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, like that's not okay because you printed like a handful of cards that just say this crew cost does not exist.
Right.
404 not found.
I mean, Consulate Dreadnought kind of splits the difference though. Like that card is
1
or,
and
I'm
6.
sorry, not Consulate Dreadnought. Sky Sovereign, big boat.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a not outrageous casting cost with kind of a high crew cost, but like if you have this guy out and big boat, you like kill 2 of their guys and crash in for 6.
I mean, it's like when they bring it back with Greasefang and it just like wraps you and you take 6 and you're just like, I guess we are not playing this game anymore. Yeah,
right.
like same kind of thing. I mean, Chandra's in the same boat as well.
Yeah.
Right, where you're like, you play Chandra, you like make a vehicle, and then the next turn you're just like, all right, like smash you for a ton with the boat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just like I think that like keeping your eyes open for vehicles that like they're balanced for limited in some way, shape, or form. Where it's like, oh, like this is something people can like work towards. It's like, no, now we have this whole suite of things that just don't matter.
Yeah.
And like mech hanger,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you have a land to do this. Oh, you killed all my creatures. Like I can now mech hanger up my thing.
Yep.
All right.
Next one we have is Sky Serpent Seeker. This is green-blue for a 1/1 snake with flying and death touch. And it has an exhaust ability. 4 mana, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal 2 lands. Put them on a battlefield, tapped, the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, and put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. This is just more food for the Afterburner expert. I know you just mentioned that deck might be Gruul if people are messing around with that.
Yeah.
But this is an explosive edge that could get you back your Afterburner expert and is a 1/1 flying death touch.
Which in the early game you can just trade off with and be unembarrassed by it.
Yep.
So yeah, the Dragonaut whatever guy, Dragonaut engineer whatever.
Yeah.
It has like an exhaust of red. All your creatures get haste.
Mm-hmm.
So it works really well because you get all of your 4/2s back,
and then they have haste,
and then they get haste.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, this could very well be, and like, I think you had in the notes at some point, like we've seen like, color flying death touchers see play throughout the years in different forms.
Yep.
So,
definitely.
It's funny that like Baleful Strix is blue-black, and then like the Coatl, Icefang Coatl, and this are blue-green.
Yeah. Weird.
All right. Artifacts. Again, on my soapbox of crew costs don't matter. Guidelight Matrix, 2 mana for an artifact. When this artifact enters, draw a card. So, can't be too embarrassing.
Yep.
2 mana, mounts you control are saddled until end of turn. Activated only sorcery. And target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. That you can activate whenever you want.
Yep.
So again, Guidelight Matrix, draw a card. Next turn, like take your Consulate Dreadnought and turn it on.
Well, I mean, there's another use case for this card also. And it's a Prophetic Prism. Like base value, it's a Prophetic Prism. It's 2 mana artifact that draws you a card when it ETBs. Prophetic Prism has seen play in the past for that line of text exclusively. And this fuels up your demon whatever.
Demonic Junker,
yeah. That this can also then turn on. So not even in like the strictly, like we've been kind of talking about the red-white version of this deck. Maybe there is a red-black or black-white or Mardu version that kind of leans more into, I don't want to call it an engine because engines might be dead at this point, but no pun intended. Maybe there's a different version of that deck where you're, going more for, the value of blowing up your opponent's thing and then using this guy to turbo that out. It replaces itself, and then you can turn on your vehicles.
Yeah.
Start them up.
So yeah, this is just interesting. And like there's enough like one man, like you could go like you could be playing your Demonic Junker on turn 4, I think, relatively easily.
Pretty easily, I think.
So again, this can like any like 2 mana artifact can help with that. So and in fact this also makes it a thing. Makes it a 4/3 is good.
Yep. And replaces itself. Not super embarrassing. Next one we have is another in a long line of artifacts of this type. This is a Market Back Walker. It's XX for a 0/0. Construct artifact creature. It enters with X +1/+1 counters on it. You can pay 4 to put a counter on it. And when this creature dies, draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. So somewhere in between Hangerback Walker and Walking Ballista.
Yeah. I feel like they're both better than this.
Yeah, the Thopters from Hangerback Walker are actually a threat instead of a third
The
lands.
potential to do things, yeah.
Yeah,
A potential to do something, they actually are doing something.
yeah,
And what Hangerback Walker is one tap, put a counter on it.
yeah.
So it has like the charge up ability of Walking Ballista. And then the dies into something like Hangerback Walker.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a bunch of like counter synergy cards in Standard.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it wouldn't be too difficult to make this thing big.
Right. If big matters.
And then, but like even if big doesn't matter, like if they kill it, then you get to refuel.
Yeah.
Again, like the problem to be that guy again is this town ain't big enough.
Yep.
Hey, I dumped like 8 mana into this. And they're like, put it back in your hand. Cool story, bro. Put it back in your hand. And Sunfall.
Yeah.
And to a lesser extent, like Leyline Binding, right? There's like some really like heavily played cards that are just like
backbreaking.
What is it? Yeah, Anoint with Affliction.
Yeah.
That one exiles as well. There's just like a handful of like exile removal cards that are just, or bounce cards that are just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I spent mana on this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe like I wonder, is there like, you know, some weird deck where you're like you have counter synergies, like you have like the Ozolith,
mm-hmm.
and then is it the Ozolith is the green one? Or whatever the green one is.
Oh, yeah,
like
I forget what the green one's called. The green Ozolith, I forget what it's called.
The green Ozolith,
yeah.
Where like you like put counters on it and then like you sacrifice it, like you kind of control when it dies, and you just have this like these cards on the board,
mm-hmm.
or like Deadly Dispute or something, or whatever our current Deadly Dispute is, when it gains life or whatever.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, okay, I'll draw like 1,000,000 here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's again, it's like it is a good card, but I don't know how it lines up with the other things in the format
mm-hmm.
to like make it like, will it be able to see play because of your opponent has out a Shieldred and then they kill your thing and you just like take 10 and you're just like, oh my god, this was awful.
No, I 100% agree. I think it like sometimes I think it's interesting just to have like this discussion where we kind of compare it to other cards that are like it, and I don't know. I just like evaluating cards.
Yeah, like the pump on Walking Ballista like mattered that you didn't have to tap it. It was a lot of mana, but I definitely day 2'd a GP because I attacked into my opponent and I tapped 4 mana to put counters on my thing and he didn't block.
Yeah.
And it's like, right, so like that matters. Like you can do it at instant speed and like you can do it in combat. But like I don't know if Hangerback Walker would be good because of how the removal lines up, and that's something that you have to consider with these cards is like how and like you always got something out of Walking Ballista, right? It was you got like a card by killing one of their things, or you at least did like 2 damage and you got like a removal spell out of their hand.
Yeah.
This you can like play and like get nothing. Stone nothing.
Yeah. Get blown
and
out.
You're just like, oh, this is terrible.
Yep. Next up, we have the Fabled Artifact.
The Fabled Artifact. Monument to Endurance. It is 3 mana. For an artifact, when you discard a card, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Draw a card. Create a treasure token. Each opponent loses 3 life. So, when they were spoiling the set, they spoiled the Mako.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the kind of the new Flourishing Fox, and I was like, oh, like the cycling deck would be fun. I was like, but I feel like it needs like one other like payoff. And then they printed this, and I was like, and we talked about in the unshow that I was like, well, let me try 3, and I just kept wanting to draw it, so I went up to 4 in the deck. So what this does, once it's on the battlefield, like I've been playing like this, we might talk about it next week, this cycling deck that so like one of the things that happens when you play a cycling deck is you're turning all of your spells into new cards,
Mm-hmm.
and one in every three of them is a land.
So eventually you turn effectively all of the cards in your hand into lands at some point.
Yes, at some point. But the like draw a card, turning your like first cycle each turn into two cards,
Yeah.
can kind of like give you more cycling fuel. And then kind of like what I've been doing is trying to set it up where I can like cycle, get my cards, get a card, and then on their turn cycle again and get a card. So basically pay 2 mana to discard 2, draw 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully after that I'm kind of set up where I can like have enough mana that I can like draw a card, deal you 3. And then on your turn, draw a card, deal you 3.
Yeah.
And now the game is about this thing. And with flourishing foxes in the Mako, right? Hopefully you've done enough damage along the way.
Yeah.
That the lightning bolts that you're hitting your opponent with like matter, because you can like put this down, and realistically if you had 2 mana and your opponent's at 12, you're like, you literally have a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm going to like 3 you and 3 you, then I'm going to 3 you on my turn, and on your upkeep I'm going to 3 you one more time.
Yeah.
Right, so like it can just be like a 1 turn clock from 12.
Yeah.
And the fact that it makes it so you don't run out of gas is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then with 2 of them, your cycles make mana. Right, your first cycle generates 2 mana, and then you can draw your card and deal your 3 off the treasure tokens, or you can draw a card on your turn, draw a card on their turn. Now you have the gas.
Right.
Or well, when there's 2, you get to draw 2 cards and deal 6, and then the game just ends. And you're like, yay, this was fun. And again, it's like, hey, you have like 1 turn to close this game out because I'm going to deal you 24 damage.
Yeah.
So it's nice that you have another payoff that like isn't creature based.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you have Zenith Flare, which is a spell that's like relying on the graveyard. Then you have your creatures, and then you've got this oddball that is like, did you bring an artifact removal?
I hope so.
Like, yeah, like, did you have artifact removal in your sideboard?
Yeah.
Did you bring it in? Did you cut things that now will let my creatures be better?
Right. Or your Zenith Flares be better.
Yeah. So, like, you have this, like, it just makes the deck have all these different angles where you can't, like, just pick a single thing.
Yeah.
So. All right. That was that. Like, I've enjoyed that card thoroughly.
Yep. 3 cards to go. This is the last artifact. Radiant Lotus, 6 mana, and tap, sacrifice 1 or more artifacts. Choose a color. Target player adds 3 mana of the chosen color for each artifact sacrificed this way. Now, I know we talked about this briefly when it was spoiled, and I wasn't super impressed with it. But you seem to think that it has some legs, right?
I mean, anything that makes 1,000,000 mana can, like, have legs.
Yeah.
And, like, there's enough, like, random tokens and random other things laying around that you can just, if you can make a ton of mana, we've seen, like, this is, like, the one-shot Cart Clan Ironworks, where, like, you kind of, like, get your stuff on the board, and then you're just, like, blah. Yeah. Here's 1,000,000 mana. You know, like, can you beat me having 24 mana this turn?
Yeah, I think the thing that kind of does it for me, though, is that it's 6 mana.
Yeah, I mean, that
is there something better you can do with 6 mana than make 20 more mana? You know what I mean? Like, if you're up to the point where you have 6 mana available anyway, I don't know that this is the direction that I would take the deck.
Fair. I mean, looking at it from, like, a 60 card constructed format, there it could be problematic. But there definitely has the like, you have 6 mana, do you really need 26?
Right.
Right. Argument. This is a card that can do no good.
Mhm.
Right? It's either unplayable, it's 6 mana, it has all this setup cost, what are you doing? Also, because of how it's templated, it can get stifled.
Yep.
It is not a mana ability because it targets.
Yep.
It targets a player. So,
Wow, that's weird. Why did they do that?
don't know. But I guess like for multiplayer games, you can give someone a bunch of mana
Sure.
if that's what you're into.
Yeah.
But it's either gonna do nothing.
We playing old school with mana burn.
Then you get them. Or like it's some combo card that like there's some combo finish and you like lose as soon as this card resolves.
Yeah.
Right. I think like in Commander, like this can just make so much mana. Could you imagine if Dockside was still legal? And you make like 30 treasures or whatever nonsense, and then you just make 180 mana, and you're just like, I guess I'll cast Torment of Hailfire for everything.
All of it. Yeah.
Caravex Torch you. Got him.
Yeah.
I don't know, how much is this card?
I have no
I'm
idea.
curious. I'm going to look.
Like I said, I wasn't like huge on this card. Didn't really see a use case for it, but
okay, it's only $21. $26 on Card Kingdom. 21 on TCG Player. But like it feels like it is a card that, like Cart Clan Ironworks, does something obscene,
Mhm.
or kind of doesn't do
anything.
Like, could you have a deck full of Grim Baubles and Tithing Blades and Demonic Junkers, and then you like play this and you make a bunch of mana for some enormous thing? I guess my problem is I don't know what the enormous monocolored thing is.
Right.
That also makes sense in your like black based artifact removal deck.
I mean, I guess it could be Market Walker or whatever, but
yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah, could very well be true.
Yep. All right, moving on. We have a pair of lands. The first is Amonkhet Raceway. It has Start Your Engines. You can tap to add a Wingding, and has max speed. Target creature gains haste until end of turn.
So we've seen, was it Handware Battlements?
Mm-hmm.
That was like a land that was like red tap, give a creature haste.
Yep.
Like that card was playable.
Mm-hmm.
This takes some extra work.
Right.
But on turn like 5, just giving your 4-drop or one of your like other creatures haste for effectively 1 mana.
Yeah. Instead of effectively
good.
2 mana.
Instead of effectively 2.
Right.
And like it allows you to, you know, not that this is particularly good if you're trying to max speed, start your engines, but like Amonkhet Raceway, play my Ginger Brute, attack.
Mm-hmm.
Right now you're on 2.
Career.
Or Bomat Courier, yeah. You're on 2 now.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you have a 1-drop, there's, not a ton of 1-drops that have Start Your Engines. If you have to play a 1-drop that doesn't have Start Your Engines, on turn 2, you can play it Amonkhet Raceway, Start Your Engines, and get your 1-drop in and get yourself to 2 that way as well.
Yeah.
So you kind of have, you can use it as a way to, like, start your engines and get yourself to 2 quickly.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's a, like, Bomat Courier, Ginger Brew, Steel Overseer deck.
Oh, where you give Steel Overseer
haste? Where you
haste?
give Steel Overseer haste and then just put creatures on all your or counters on all your nerds on turn 3?
I think the soonest you can get it is 4 though, right?
No, you can get max speed on 3.
Oh yeah, because you would go like
You're
this,
on 2 on turn 1, and then 3
and
on
then
turn
3,
2, and 4 on
yeah,
turn
and then
3.
you like play your Steel Overseer after like post combat,
Yeah.
and yeah, like you could just leave the Amonkhet Raceway. I guess if they're tapped out, you just do it so you like, you get the counters. But yeah, like you could like some sort of like affinity deck.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another colorless land that kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, which one's that?
So, uh, Morgana Raceway.
This one?
Yeah, that
Oh,
one.
wow.
Wow, what does this one do?
This is another land with start your engines, and taps to add a wingding, and has max speed. Tap, add wingding, wingding.
I mean, Ancient Tomb, good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for commander purposes, people were comparing it to, is it Temple of the False God?
Yeah,
That like
I guess so.
only like that people are like that card is almost good enough,
Yeah,
and there's a huge portion of the time where it just literally does nothing.
right.
This at least always taps for colorless.
And it always fires you up.
It always fires you up.
Yeah.
You play it and you're like, are we fired up now?
I get fired up just looking at it.
Just looking at it. So like again, like you could go, this and Amonkhet Raceway and your like artifact Rooma Zoom Zoom start your engines deck.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're like, because I mean, on turn 3, having an Ancient Tomb
Mm-hmm.
is pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Like now you're ahead for the rest of the game.
Yep.
I mean, seems workable.
Yeah. Might
I
be
mean,
fun.
and Gingerbread is hard to block. Like it definitely will get in for a beating.
Sure is.
So yeah.
That does
Like
it.
I think the lands, the fact that they give you a way on turn 1
Yeah.
to start your engines is a big deal, and like both of them have like a reasonable effect.
Mm-hmm.
So.
You know what else is kind of awkward? I don't know that it super matters. It might just be a neat, like a corner case or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But starting your engines isn't a trigger, right? It's just something that happens.
I think so, yeah.
So if your opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire, passes turn, you play your Muruganda Raceway.
They can't fetch.
Or if they do, like you gain a speed.
You do. Or like a Pain Land.
Yeah.
Like you play this, and then like if they played a Pain Land,
Yeah.
and then you like play your Gingerbread, you're
They
getting that
push
one.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting your 1 regardless.
Right.
I mean, if your deck's just all 1 mana, 1/1 artifact creature hasters, like you're gonna get in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the common one, good for limited.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's good for limited. I haven't found it to be particularly.
I had one and I got to activate it a couple times and it felt good as I was flooding out in the late game.
My decks, I mean, there's better ways to prevent flood, but I think my decks maybe have been a little bit more mana base hungry.
I've played 1 sealed event, so in person, so like, and I got the buy in one of the rounds, so like I have tons of limited experience here in this format. But like, there could be, again, like kind of looking forward, there could be a like colorless artifact deck where like starting your engines for at least the 2 lands matters.
Mm-hmm. I mean, both of these are powerful things to do. Like they are things that max speed would matter for, and especially if you're in like an aggro deck like that, like giving a creature haste is like that could be
a big
huge.
Deal. Yeah.
You know, if you're trying to dead him on turn 4, like
I forget what developer was like, hey, like the most powerful ETB is haste.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, maybe. I guess you design Magic cards. Maybe you know better than me, but I mean, just giving all of your creatures haste for 1 extra mana, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of cards that their stats, if they were their stats and had haste, they would cost 1 more mana.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like you're not like really playing off curve.
Right.
So yeah. And I mean, if you have both of these, you're definitely playing on curve.
Definitely.
You're playing because now you're just getting to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So you got anything else?
I don't.
So with that, I think we got a show.
We got a show.
If you have any suggestions for things for us to talk about next week might be what's it like in Chicago?
And we can definitely do that. It'll I guess it'll be up to our listeners if they want to hear about Brian's Chicago recap if we're going to do that during the unshow.
We'll have to see.
I wouldn't mind doing an episode brewing a deck, whether it's this artifact deck or the Afterburner expert deck or the cycling deck or the aggro fire me up deck.
Okay.
I think that might be kind of fun to get back to roots a little bit too, is just kind of brewing a deck from scratch. So if any of you guys want to hear about any of that, let us know, and let us know which one you want to hear about, or if you have a different idea.
Yeah, I mean, we could. I think there's an argument for like 2. The cycling, I feel like the cycling deck's kind of put together.
Yeah.
But I think that like we could talk about the cycling deck and like experiences with it, and then another deck that we mess with. So that's also an idea.
Yeah. But let us know.
Yeah. All right. So again, ideas: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, Blue Sky, email. All those links in the description. Say hey. Let us know what you want to hear about.
Yep. Hit us up. If you're looking to support the show, 2 ways you can do it. First is with our TCG player affiliate link, CasualTryHard.com/TCG. Do your shopping using that link, and you'll be supporting the show at the same time for no extra cost to you. We would greatly appreciate it. A little bit more directly, you can go to Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. Chip a couple bucks in, you get access to my show notes here. So you get a list of all the cards we talked about with some of my off-the-cuff notes while I was going through. You also get access to about another hour's worth of content out of us every week in the form of our unshow, unedited, unscripted, unburdened.
Oh, unburdened.
If any of that sounds good, or if you just want to support the show, Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG.
Yeah. So with that, we'll catch you on the internets.
We'll catch you on the internets.